Welcome to season 2 of Well Seekers, where we are bringing wellness home with simple and easy ways for a beautiful mind and life, taking a holistic approach to seek, find, and help you live life happy, healthy, and strong. I'm Lucia, and on today's show, we're talking about a couple things. One is a disease that may be making you depressed and anxious, and two are the foods that you may be eating if you have this disease that could be contributing to some of those symptoms of depression and anxiety. Depression and anxiety are its own diagnosis, and we've talked about that before in season 1 and things that can contribute to that. But I'm going to tell you a story. So when I was 26, I moved from Los Angeles to Boston, and I had just gotten my national radio show. It was called The Matt and Lucia Show, and I was so excited, and life was going really well. I started dating my then boyfriend, who became my husband, who became my ex-husband. There's like the circle of life. And I just constantly and chronically was not feeling well. And he actually is the one that pointed that out to me. So I would, work out and go to work. And by 3 o'clock at work, I would be flat out. Now, in the past, I could attribute that to maybe I didn't like my job, or maybe something wasn't going well in my life, or different things like that would potentially be causing some anxiety or depression or different issues like that. But there was nothing going on in my life. I mean, my life was probably the highest that it has been to this day, actually. Just kidding. The best is yet to come. But my boyfriend at the time said to me, I feel like you're depressed and sluggish and like something is going on with you. And I knew that I wasn't depressed, but I was feeling that way, tired and anxious. So I went to the doctor, like so many people do, and she said the same thing. What's going on in your life? Sort of, is this psychological? And I was sure that it was not psychological. So we started looking at some of the things that it could be and my history. And it turns out that since I was 13, was in and out of doctor's offices with constant stomach aches and problems. And people thought, oh, maybe it's an ulcer, or maybe it's lupus, or different things like that. And after a series of tests, it took about, I would say, 6 months of different tests to finally figure out, because this was back in 2006, that I had something called celiac. Now, you've heard celiac probably talked about in the past, and people use it loosely. So if you go to a restaurant and someone's like, oh, I don't eat gluten, they may say, oh, I don't eat gluten. People assume they have celiac. But celiac is an actual and serious autoimmune disease. It's not just not eating gluten. It's not just having gluten and feeling sick to your stomach. If you're diagnosed with celiac, which I was, you could be experiencing, and you don't know that you have celiac, you could be experiencing psychological effects, and you could be experiencing physical effects. So on today's show, we're going to talk about some of those things that you may be experiencing, what celiac actually is, and if you do have celiac, or you know someone who has celiac. I have a friend who has a ton of questions. She also produces this show, and she's constantly asking questions about celiac. So we're going to talk about what you can do, answer your questions, what you can do to help a friend who has celiac, and then give you some simple and easy ways to both spot if you may have the disease, and if you have the disease, some tips and tricks that I've assembled over the last 12 years of having celiac. So what celiac is, like I said, it's a serious autoimmune disease, and it actually attacks your small intestine. So when you eat gluten, your body can't digest it normally. So it causes complications in your digestive tract. And because of those complications, a variety of things happen in your body. And so I'm just going to go over some of the long-term health effects of celiac, which can include, and I'm going to read from my cheat sheet if you're watching this on video and not listening on podcast, but you can actually get other autoimmune diseases. So if you have autoimmune, you know this. If you have one autoimmune, chances are you have 3 or 4 autoimmune diseases because they work in conjunction with each other, which is something that I experience as well. So type 1 diabetes, MS, something called HS, which I'm going to talk about later on in the show. Those are all diseases that could occur with celiac. And your chance of developing another disease is higher if you have one autoimmune disease. So some of the things that can happen to your body physically if you do have celiac are iron deficiencies, early onset osteoporosis, infertility and miscarriage, lactose intolerance, vitamin and mineral deficiencies. You can even develop cancer if you're eating gluten. So I always used to get frustrated because at restaurants, people would be like, oh yeah, I don't eat gluten. And then if they get asked if they had celiac, they'd say yes, when they didn't really have celiac, which makes people think celiac is not a serious disease, when in actuality, it actually can cause really serious issues in your life and really serious complications, both psychologically and physically if you're not diagnosed. So we want to help you spot some of the things that may be happening if you do have celiac. So insomnia is a big one. When I ate gluten and didn't know I had celiac, I had a ton of trouble sleeping. Chronic stomach problems. I always felt, after I ate, I always felt sick. Now I know that I've been glutened. If I eat something and then I just want to pass out for the rest of the day, I know that somehow I've been exposed to gluten, because your body just doesn't digest it, and it literally can level you. But not to say that if you're not feeling like you are completely leveled, you still could have celiac. So if you have chronic stomach aches after you eat, you're feeling tired and you don't know why, your body's feeling a little bit inflamed, these are all things that could be happening. If you have anemia or you're feeling vitamin deficient, also signs of celiac. But some of the psychological issues that you may be experiencing, so cognition issues come with celiac if you are exposing yourself to gluten. So brain fog, memory lapse, headaches. I used to have ridiculous headaches and I never knew why because I drank so much water. Attention deficit, depression, anxiety, irritability, all of those things. And I have to say that I always had stomach aches. That was something that had become a part of my life for forever. So I just got used to that. But it's when the anxiety and irritability and depression started to ramp up that I decided, I needed to address this issue, and finally got diagnosed. So those are some of the main psychological and physical things that you may be experiencing if you have celiac. And I want to take your questions. I have been getting your tweets. People have been tweeting at WellSeekers and sending messages to Facebook at WellSeekers. So if you have any questions about celiac, even though we taped the show, we want to help answer them. So definitely DM us, shoot us a message at WellSeekers. Everything is at WellSeekers on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. But Joe, my producer, has some questions. So we're going to come back and answer questions that I've gotten before and questions that someone who knows someone with celiac has, so we can help you spot the disease better, and some simple and easy ways and foods to incorporate into your life if you do have the disease. So we will be right back on WellSeekers. Hey, it's Lucia, and I am beyond thrilled to tell you about our brand new segment, Ask Lucia. Some of you know me as a storyteller and journalist, but I'm also a licensed clinical therapist, which means that people ask me a lot of questions, like, why do I do this? Or why does my mom do that? Or how do I make my boyfriend or husband or significant other stop doing this? You've got a lot of questions. I've got your answers. So email us at hello@wellseekers.com or find us online, all our socials at WellSeekers, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. No question is off limits. We will answer them all. So connect with us right now here at WellSeekers. And we're back on WellSeekers. So Joe, my podcast producer, is the one that actually suggested this topic, because whenever we have meetings, she's like, can you eat this? I'm like, no, I can't eat that. She's like, can you eat this? I'm like, no, I can't eat that. And she's like, what do you have and what is wrong with you? So Joe has some questions. She's going to stay off camera until I have her come on and try one of the simple and easy tips and tricks that I have for people that are suffering with celiac. So Joe, you have some questions and I have some answers. And I also just want to state that we're going to do another show on, because there is such a connection between your brain and your gut, and autoimmune disease centers in the gut. And the reason that there is a connection, I don't know if you guys know this, but you have more neurons in your gut than you do in your brain. So neurons are what send messages to your brain. So if your gut is messed up, your brain is messed up, which is why keeping your gut healthy is so essential for mental health. Did you guys just learn something here on the Well Seeker set?
A lot.
Every
time we see you.
So you have more neurons in your gut than in your brain. So that's why this is such an essential thing. So we're going to have a GI person come on another show and talk about the mind-gut connection in greater detail. But for today...
Hello, everyone.
Jo.
First of all, hello, Well Seekers from all around the world. I'm
She's
Giovanna.
Gonna pop in.
Later, I'm very shy.
Jo is also Italian, which makes us have an immediate bond.
And which makes everything more difficult for you to understand my question.
No, they can't understand. I will repeat it. I have to say this too, that she wanted someone else to ask these questions, but they were her questions. And I feel like we should celebrate the fact that you have an accent.
We can make underneath captions for
Subtitles?
my subtitles.
Okay, so Jo has questions about celiac from someone who knows someone with celiac, and then we'll dive into it more.
Yes, I didn't know that you had this disease. So
did you know that it was that serious of a disease that you can?
No, I didn't think it was so serious.
Yeah.
I was just thinking that was like kind of an allergy.
Yeah.
More serious allergy towards gluten.
Rather than damaging your small intestine.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes.
And did you know that my grandmother's sister actually died from stomach cancer because she had celiac and she would eat gluten?
Yes, but also listening to you after all the symptoms that you mentioned, I feel like I have to get tested.
Do you have stomach ache?
I always suffer though. I always suffer from gastritis, but I never been tested for gluten. But
Interesting.
Your body changes.
Your body does change.
Yes, so you can become more intolerant. Pregnancy can change everything, hormonal and everything. So it's.
They say 1 in 100 people have celiac. So,
but yeah,
get tested.
I started being so, curious about this topic with you because every time, and you mentioned it before, that I was coming in, here to see you, I was bringing something. You could never eat anything.
No.
And I ended up eating for 2.
I know, she did. She would eat my food. There is a reason for that, though, too, and we'll talk about this at the end, but I have another autoimmune disease called HS, which is hidradenitis suppurativa, and which is why I just call it HS, because I can't even remember that.
No, I would never remember that.
There's something called the AIP diet, which is an autoimmune protocol diet, which is even more strict than celiac. We'll talk about that in another show, but that's why I really can't eat foods.
Yeah, you cannot eat anything besides air, basically.
That's not true.
Even for us, the people that are around you, they want to come and visit you, and if they want to, bring anything, what they can bring, what ingredients should they look for?
So there's like the big 3 that people say to stay away from. And those are wheat, barley, and rye. If you're looking in a grocery store, are you talking packaged, Jo, or do you want?
Yes.
Okay, so
or
if you're
even
looking...
if I make something for you, if I want to bake a cake for you.
So if you want to bake a cake for someone, wheat, barley, rye is probably the big 3. That's what they call them, to stay away from. Wheat, barley, and rye are the ones that are most common in cakes as well. So those are the ones I would say stay away from. But in addition to that, if you're buying something packaged, there should be something on there that says certified gluten-free. It shouldn't just say gluten-free, it should say certified gluten-free. Because if someone really has celiac, they're just not trying to stay away from gluten, you really shouldn't, it should be a dedicated bakery because there could be cross-contamination. That's the reason that oats as well, and if you're watching this vlogcast, I'm sorry if I'm shifting. If you're listening,
it's my fault.
I'm the same. But if you're watching this, Jo is moving erratically. She's doing jumping jacks, and so my line of sight keeps changing. So you should really look for certified gluten-free if someone suffers from celiac, and you need to have something for them. Yes.
So, talking about this, where should I go buy? Like,
Where
your
should you buy it?
grocery, yeah. Where do you go grocery, or do you order more online?
So there's a couple things. Well Seekers is all about simple and easy and saving time and money, because time and money are things that people just don't have. So I try to just eat naturally gluten-free, meaning some of those products that you buy, like gluten-free cookies or gluten-free pizza or gluten-free this, that are supposed to be gluten-free, they end up upcharging you. So these can be like $6, $7, $8 for something that would be normally $2, $3. So I try to eat naturally gluten-free. So if you want to bring something, I would really stick to things like that are healthy for you too. But fruit, I eat a ton of fruit for snacks. If you wanted to spice it up, I put a lot of ginger and cinnamon on it, because if you do have celiac, chances are your gut isn't in great shape either. And some of those spices like cinnamon and ginger can help heal your gut and leaky gut, which is something we can talk about in another episode too. So if we're keeping this really, really basic for people, simple and easy.
So if
I'd
I
say
have you
go get
over
fruit.
for dinner,
Yeah.
I'm gonna feed you fruit salad, basically.
Yeah. For dinner? I was thinking you were saying for a snack. So
no, if you're
for
coming
dinner,
from dinner.
I mean, I eat fish, so people like a grilled piece of salmon with salt and pepper, steamed broccoli, and a steamed sweet potato. That is like my classic go-to.
Oh.
So real food. That's really what it is. Real food.
So grocery-wise, where do you go?
So grocery-wise, again, I always want to keep time and money in mind when I'm shopping. So Trader Joe's, I find, has a lot, if you're looking for packaged stuff and fresh stuff as well, but they have great options, especially for gluten-free. So that is probably my go-to, but tons of other stores, you just need to dig around a little bit more, like a normal grocery store. Online, there's an online, I haven't used this yet, but I think it's called, well, I'll find the name for it, but there's an online distributor that does food like this really cheap.
Oh, great. And another question. Do you have to take supplements?
So supplements are a good thing for anyone to take.
Yeah.
I feel
Or
like, but for people with celiac, if you're anemic, your doctor, definitely talk to your doctor, always talk to your doctor, but you'll probably be put on iron, some sort of prebiotic, probiotic to help with your digestion. That's what I take. I take a probiotic. I take vitamin B, vitamin D, magnesium, and a multivitamin.
So do you think...
But that's not it's person specific, so definitely talk to your doctor. Yeah.
So do you think, or now you are used to it, do you think it's a really strict diet, or...
I don't think celiac's that strict of a diet anymore, because I have to do something called, this was one of my tips and tricks for you guys, is find a good cookbook. Yeah, so I do something called autoimmune protocol, which we'll talk about. But I don't think it is, because there are so many gluten-free options now.
Yeah.
Is that all your questions?
Also, yeah, yes, I'm done. So next time I'm gonna go and I'm gonna be more instructed by what to buy you or having you over for dinner.
Yeah.
And that book that I was looking at also has the shopping list.
Yeah.
So it's
these
amazing.
If you do have celiac and you do find out you have celiac, and the next thing I just want to dive into really quick is, what's the easiest way to figure out if you do have celiac? Go to your doctor, tell them, hey, these are some of my psychological symptoms, these are some of my physical symptoms, and I think I could have celiac. So they will give you a blood test. It's a really simple blood test. And then it'll come back, yes, there's a chance. No, there's not a chance. The problem is that the blood test is actually not the most accurate way. So they'll do something called an endoscopy, which is a slightly more, well, it's invasive, because they put you out and stick a tube down your throat.
Oh, wow.
To actually diagnose you with celiac. But if the blood test comes back positive, or if you even, one of the simplest ways is to just eliminate gluten from your diet and see if you feel better. But as always, anything on the show, if you have any questions, make sure you contact your own health professional. But eliminate gluten on your own, get the blood test, and then if you really are still worried, endoscopy. That would be the route to finding out if you have celiac. But I do want to dive into some simple and easy things you can do if you end up getting that diagnosis of celiac. And my first tip would be, get a good cookbook or get a good book. I've got tons of them. This is my favorite because I do autoimmune. the AAP diet, which is also paleo and gluten-free. So just incredibly simple and easy. There's another book I have that literally is called Simple and Easy Celiac. There's another book called Simple and Easy AIP. And it's basically exactly what we stand for here on Well Seekers. Affordable foods, quick ways to eat and still stay on your diet, because that's one of the hardest things that I have found on this diet, is that it costs so much to get good quality food. So check out this book, check out that book. And then what Joe was saying, and one of the reasons I love this book, is that there's the shopping list.
Exactly.
So, yeah, sometimes you're like, wait, all these recipes are awesome, but what do I need? And I don't want to write it down myself. So they actually give you a shopping list.
Lots of vegetables.
Lots of vegetables
amazing.
in this book. Yeah, tons of vegetables. That's a big part of the diet. Yeah. The other book that I really like is The Whole30. And I know not even to just do it for 30 days, but there's shopping lists in that book as well. So I'm a big fan of books that come with instructions that point out that they're affordable and also give you the shopping list. So that would be suggestion number 1. Suggestion number 2 is find the grocery store, your go-to grocery store. Like I said, Trader Joe's for me is just the least inexpensive, so I tend to go there a lot for my big items. And then I'll pop into health food stores or something like Whole Foods or something like that for specialty items every once in a while. So find the places that you love to go so that you actually end up sticking to your diet. Because I know in the beginning I didn't have those places, so I would just be like, well, what's a stomach ache? But if you have celiac, it's not just a stomach ache. Like I said, you could suffer from depression and anxiety, and you could even end up getting more serious illnesses if you do eat gluten and have celiac. So find your go-to spots. And then my third tip, simple and easy tip, is find your go-to snacks. So find your go-to books and shopping lists, find your go-to spots, and find your go-to snacks. And I have a treat. Joe's gonna throw them to me. This is probably my favorite treat. They're called tiger nuts. I think that says it all. I'm just kidding. They're called tiger nuts, and they're a root vegetable. So we were looking up because I tweeted this company and I asked them, where does the name tiger nut come from? Because in all of our research that we did here, we still couldn't find where the name tiger nut comes from. So we're waiting for them to tweet back. They still haven't tweeted back. And when they do tweet back, we'll put it on Well Seekers. But if anyone out there knows where the name tiger nut comes from, let us know. But tiger nuts, they're vegan. These aren't, even though they come in a bag, I'll just show you guys them. They're not processed at all. This is a root vegetable, like a sweet potato or something like that. And this is probably my one, they can be pricey. This is my one like main treat that I give myself. Everything else I eat pretty just like natural things. Apples, peaches, pears, bananas, coconut oil, a ton of coconut oil. But a tiger nut, I just have to read some of these stats. There's 10 grams of fiber in a serving, which is 40%. There's 10% of your iron. These were found in like Egyptian royalties, tombs and graves. That's how far back these go. Africa is the country that they originally started in. But they are, the small root vegetable. 80% of our paleo ancestors ate these, and they have as much iron as red meat. So I actually need to eat these more because I stopped eating meat altogether. But, or Joe said I need to start eating meat again. I'm just going to start eating more tiger nuts. I love these. That's why I'm eating them. I can't even help myself. But there was one other thing I wanted to say about tiger nuts. Do you have any questions about these? I'm going to make Joe try them. She was asking me about them. I don't know if you guys can see them, but they look like wrinkly nuts. That's the only way to describe them. Wrinkly nuts.
If anybody
like
knows
nuts.
why they call it tiger nuts.
I know, if anyone knows. So they do have an acquired taste. I find them refreshingly good, but I've also been eating them for years. Joe, come here. We're going to make her try a tiger nut. I've had people try before, and the reaction is definitely camera worthy. So if you're listening on the podcast, we don't flash people.
I go?
So right here. You can move that. Joe's coming in.
Hello.
To the video if you're listening on podcast.
Hello, everyone.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to try my first tiger nut.
This is I think everyone should try their first tiger nut. We have a guest
We're
waiting
gonna-
downstairs.
yeah.
She should come in and try her first second. What do you think? How would you describe it?
Raw almonds.
That's so funny. They say that it has the same taste as an almond.
I didn't read it before, so she just wanted me to try it. You know, on
You
camera
like them.
too.
So
yeah.
the
They're
last
not
time
really-
that someone
they're
tried, they
not
spit it out.
Crunchy. They are like, like fiber. They taste like
Tons of fiber.
yeah.
Low fat. So as opposed to another nut, this has over half, about a third of the fat of a regular nut, only
Yeah.
7 grams. So
We
there
have
you
the
go.
same taste on nuts.
And exactly. So tiger nuts, that's my go-to snack. Find your go-to snack. Other go-to snacks are just filling my bag with fruits and vegetables. And there is a great protein bar
Yeah.
that is completely gluten-free and all natural from a company
sounds
called
very good.
Julian's Bakery. If you guys don't know Julian's Bakery, you have to look them up. Those are my 3 go-tos for you. Simple, easy, and if you want affordable, again, just stick to things that are naturally gluten-free. Like I do a lot of rice. That's naturally gluten-free, but
Rice, you can eat rice.
I can eat rice. So those are my tips. These are my nuts, my tiger nuts. And we will be right back to wrap up the show on Well
We're gonna
Seekers.
keep eating in the meantime because I have to say these are really good.
Yeah, they are good.
We're gonna make Jason taste them too,
Right.
just to have an idea.
We'll be right back on Well Seekers. After a long day, taking time to love yourself and your friends and your family more well can be a challenge. We're so burnt out and exhausted and stressed from working so hard during the day, we forget to love the people and the places and the things that are important to us. Well, Lucia at Night is here to help. We're gonna be a retreat and a treat for your day. A place to laugh, to connect, and to learn to love yourself and others more well. We're gonna talk about relationships, ways to sleep better. We'll have expert guests, personal stories, maybe even a musical guest or two. We'll share behind the scenes into my own life as well, my friends, my family, and of course, my relationships. So close the door on your day and light up your night with Lucia at Night. Also, make sure to check out more at wellseekers.com for simple and real-life ways to bring wellness home. I'll see you tonight on Lucia at Night. And we're back on Well Seekers, wrapping up another great show. Thanks to Joe for being such a good sport, trying my tiger nuts. And we hope that you learned something. I know that when I was experiencing anxiety and depression, and I knew that it wasn't actually from anything, finding out that it was related to more of a physical health condition really helped me zero in on what the actual root cause was and fix that root cause, which for me was the foods that I was eating. So on another episode, we're going to definitely dive into, even if you don't have celiac, there are some foods that you could be eating that may be affecting your mental health. And we'll talk about on other episodes too, the mind-gut connection. So I think this is just a way that we're pointing out and illustrating again that our body is holistic, that even though we're talking about creating a beautiful mind and a beautiful life, you can't ignore the fact that all of our systems, mind, body, spirit, social, they all work together, our heart, all of it. So from the mind down, we are definitely going to help you, and we're going to have to look at that holistically, and talking about things like celiac and how that could be affecting your mind is definitely one of those ways. So if you guys have any questions, make sure to email us, hello@wellseekers.com, or if you want us to talk about something on the show, hello@wellseekers.com. If you have questions, we will find the answers. Seek, find, that's what we do here. That's what our whole team does here. Make sure to keep following us, Instagram @WellSeekers, Twitter @WellSeekers, Facebook @WellSeekers, for continued, simple, easy ways to live life well, from the mind down, stay happy, healthy, and strong, and all of that good stuff. Also, if you missed any other episodes of our podcast and vlogcast, make sure to hop on wellseekers.com, hit subscribe so you can stay in the loop when we do have a new show and catch up on season 1 and the last 2 episodes of season 2. From all of us here at Well Seekers, we are so excited you are on this journey with us to bring wellness home, and we'll talk to you next week on Well Seekers.